Hello, my Virgo friends. This is Jill with the Healing Moon Tarot, and today we're going to do your November 2018 general reading. Last month, your oracle card was Illumination. So I'm always curious if that word meant anything to you in the month of October, whether you're new here or not. Did a light finally get shown on something, or were you able to see something in a different light? Just curiosity is always part of this. I like us having conversations. Today we have higher ground. This may be removing your perspective a little bit, taking a wider approach to how you view something, taking the high road as far as not involving yourself in things that you don't necessarily need to be involved in, or choosing to not react in a, if somebody's wronged you, two wrongs don't make a right. I'm going to take the high ground, and I'm not going to react the way you think I'm going to or should, what have you. Let's get some cards pulled for our mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual space, Virgo. Maybe. On the floor it went. One more. Sorry, trying to save time by pulling them all out, and it's not happening very quickly. Maybe I don't have anything to say to you this month. All right. We're going to start here with the King of Cups for your mental space, and we have followed by a Page of Cups. You might be all up in your feels, Virgo. Your mental space may be very much connected to an emotional space for you right now, being consumed with your feelings or your thoughts about your feelings, trying to sort them out, be mature, make good decisions, be open and authentic. Those kinds of things may be really running through your mind. What are your emotional connections? Who are you connected to? Why? How? What does that mean to you? All of those big questions may be really bearing down on you mentally this month. But this is a king, so it seems to be coming from a good place, a mature place of really just being mindful of your emotional space. And it may very well, because we'll get to this 5 here in a second that's coming up in your emotions, but if it's conflict, if it's just some, I'm going to have to do these together. The 5 coming in your emotional space, the 5 of Swords, like, he can sometimes be a bully. Like, yep, he won, and now he's looking, standing there looking like an arrogant, you know what? So with this card, I always urge, are you fighting to win, or is it something really worth fighting for? Like, what is this dynamic here? And it coming out in your emotional space, I think it'd be wise to consider how you're interacting with people at an emotional level. Are you kind of beating them up to get your point across, or are you kind of taking advantage of the fact that you're smarter or wittier, or have more facts or something of that nature? Virgo, if that's happening right now, this emotional stuff's on your mind, and then your your emotional space is feeling very, what's the word I'm looking for? Goodness, sorry. conflicted, for lack of the word I was looking for. And then in your physical space, you have this Page of Cups, which is kind of an immature energy of kind of going with the flow. Like it's a silly kind of energy. Like he's got a fish in his cup, right? So there may be a lot of emotions. It may, especially with this high ground card, in your physical space, it can maybe seem a little immature. It could seem a little like, why are we having this fight, or why is this conflict? It's not even a big deal. But shifting your perspective on it, deciding to be mindful of how you're interacting with people, not being a bully, not trying to be right in a relationship. I really feel like this is relationship based since 2 cup cards came out. Are you being mindful of how you could be negatively affecting your relationship with this win or lose thing? Because in a relationship, there shouldn't be winners and losers. You're on the same team, whether it's a friend, a family member, a spouse, or, significant other. You shouldn't be trying to win. You should be trying to work together for a resolve or a compromise or whatever. But you're on the same team. If you both want the same thing, if you want to enjoy each other, have a good time together, share life with someone, then why would you oppose them and try to make them a loser? Does that make sense? So however this is coming up in your life, whoever you may be having some conflicts with, it may be important for you to pause out, try to get some high ground so you can look at it a little differently, sort through some stuff, and be mindful of the conflicts and how you could better approach them to make them go more smoothly for you. Our spiritual space is the 8 of Swords and the Hierophant. Now, this is obviously a spiritual card. He's depicted here as a religious leader with some followers here. This card speaks a lot to institution, whether that be a church, a school, a counselor, it can even play a role in our jobs of having someone we're held accountable to, some kind of standards we have to deal with. What is our relationship to that? Are we willing to learn? Who is your teacher? Who are you learning from? Why are you learning from them? The 8 of Swords is self-limitation. There's not a guard or anybody keeping her tied up here. But in her head, she has decided that she's stuck. Okay? So in your spiritual life, if you're really limiting yourself, limiting what you believe, or limiting, oh, I couldn't do that, or I couldn't feel that, or I couldn't have that relationship with my spirituality, you're not going to have it. This takes you being willing to take the blindfold off and willing to stop lying to yourself or fooling yourself, or letting your mind or your thought patterns fool you into believing something that's not real. So it just may be important to your spirituality this month to consider who you're learning from, what you're learning, why you're learning it, and mostly, are you allowing yourself to even get close to learning and connecting with your spiritual space, regardless of how this institution plays for you? If you don't go to church, if you're not involved in spirituality, it may be some simple practices within your home as far as setting good intentions, holding yourself to everyone, I shouldn't say everyone. I hope that everyone has some form of moral compass, right? Standards that they hold themselves to. And if you're lying to yourself and saying, I can't maintain that, or I'm not good enough, or whatever these limiting thoughts are, it may be helpful to you to dive deeper into what are your self-limiting thoughts, why do you have them, and what can you do about changing them. We're going to pause the video here, Virgo, and move on to the second part of our reading. Oh, and I grabbed the wrong deck. I keep doing that. Virgo, we're going to start this half with a challenge card. We have the Ten of Swords. Eight, 10. This one's all the way done. The swords aren't around him anymore, they're through him. It may be a challenge for you this month to be done with something. To allow something to cease to be. There's an obvious finality. Is that the word I'm looking for? Depicted here. And the swords can be our thought processes and our actions and the things we do and say. And this coming in a challenge, I just get this strong feeling of holding on a little bit too long, or hoping and wishing and dreaming that something can be revived. Let's pull a strength card. Five of Swords, so the same card is up here. And the Three of Coins. So Virgo, yeah, this is a strength. You can win an argument. You can win at a lot of things you set your mind to. You are more than capable of strategizing your way through in dealing and coming out on top with certain things. But again, I think this is coming out in a way, and it coming out twice, to stress what is your intention behind it. Because for this to be a strength, for it to be a strength to come out on top, higher ground, the intention has to be right. Like, are you just trying to win? And at what expense? What expense are you willing to have other people lose? The Three of Coins talks about teamwork and this union and people coming together. I think it's important to be mindful who you're interacting with, how you're interacting with them, how can you better interact with them, how can you take that high ground and get a wider perspective of the situation, again, so things can be more, run more smoothly. It's having the foresight to be like, okay, I know I have to deal with these people, or I know this is the situation. If I put some thought into it prior, and not in a trying to set expectations on it, but a mindfulness of, what can I control? I can control my intentions. I can be mindful of how I'm affecting others. I can be very clear about my intent, what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to accomplish, and be considerate of the people that I'm having to deal with. Let's pull some cards for your need to know. Five of Cups and Devil card. This came out for Scorpio last month in the same order. And I just think it's funny. I'm a Scorpio, so those came out for me. And I am a Virgo moon. So if you don't know all of your signs, there's easy natal charts online that you can have fabricated. All you need is your date, time, and place of birth, and it creates a chart for you based on that. So the main three aspects that people look at are sun signs. So that's why you're a Virgo sun sign, I assume, since you're watching this video, unless you cross watch for your other signs. Then your moon sign and your ascending sign. Those three are like the major players in what we look at as far as astrology. So I'm a moon sign, Virgo, and I think it's just funny, these cards keep coming out for me. So I hope I'm not affecting this in general reading, but the reason I say that and all that lead up is because I understand this energy together very, very well. And I hope I can articulate it to you in a way that you can find useful this month. The Five of Coins, you got to think for fives this month, but the Five of, did I say coins? Cups, to me, is mostly to do with grief and loss. And this person is in it. They are very invested and paying very close attention to what they have lost emotionally, typically described as grief, right? And they are not able to see what's ahead of them. They are, the word that really comes to mind lately is ruminating. They're sitting there thinking about the past and thinking about what was and feeling very emotionally connected to something in their past and not able to see what's coming towards them. The Devil card is all about what or who we give our power to. This card speaks of our addictions, our bad habits, our attachments. This can be to physical things or even people. Allowing someone else to control your power as a human, to control your happiness or joy, to say, I can only be happy if this person meets this expectation for me, or allows me to be happy. These two coming together, need to know, I think it's important to take a look at your attachment to grief. What does grief or loss mean to you? How do you feel when you think about grief that you've had or loss that you've had? Is it something that you're easily consumed with? Is it something that you have an unhealthy relationship with, like you shove stuff down and you don't deal with it? Or do you fixate on it like I have in the past? I've lost a lot of people. I understand the emotion of grief very well. And I allowed it to control me. I gave it so much power during some times of my life. It was all consuming. And I'm not saying it's wrong to grieve. It's absolutely necessary to grieve. However, some of us can get stuck there. And we cannot see our way out. We cannot see what is possible ahead of us. We do not look for opportunities to feel some of these same feelings because we're too attached to the grief of the loss of something else. So if this is coming into your life at all this month, first off, I'm sorry if you're feeling this way. I'm sorry if you've lost something or someone this month that was meaningful to you. But I hope that this serves as a reminder that you have a lot ahead of you and you never know what's going to come. So yes, give yourself this time. Give yourself the ability to deal with this stuff. But please don't get stuck and don't let it have control over you. Let's end this reading with some suggestion cards. Getting some music out of them even. That actually flew over and hit a beer can that my husband left sitting on my table. That was that sound. I need to take it to the trash, but I keep forgetting. Actually, I should make him do it. Your suggestion area is the Magician. And I love this card so much. You know, it's the number 1. There's an infinity sign represented, here above his head. And then in this specific deck, it looks different in different decks, but he still has all of the elements. He has the cups, the coins, the swords, and the wands. He has a sense of control or ownership over all of these things, and he realizes that it takes all of this pulled together to create magic. So going forward into November, your suggestion card is to be aware of your resources. What skills do you have as a human? How can you try to stay balanced and not just be logical, not just be in your feelings, not just, and try to encompass as many of these different things as possible. And if you don't possess a certain quality, how can you learn about it more? How can you bring more of that into your life? Or is there a teacher or someone that can help you form a better relationship with the different resources you have within yourself as well as in your physical world? And if this isn't so much of internal work and it's even at your job or with your family, making a mental note of, I'm good at this, I'm not good at that. This person is good at that, though. How can, and this goes back into all these 5 of Swords of compromising and working together and finding solutions, and how can we get creative? How can we pool our resources? How can we work together? What are my strengths and what are your strengths? And how can we make this work without all of this one person feeling like a winner and one person feeling like a loser? How can we all win? How can we manifest something good together and making all of this work? So I think this was a really good reading. I hope to hear from you if you have any comments, questions, or concerns. My social medias will be linked below, or leave me a comment. I enjoy getting comments from people. I'm happy to have conversations with people, so please reach out to me or throw up a like. I appreciate that very much. If you'd like to hear from me again, please remember to subscribe. I will see you soon. Have a great month, Virgo.